All right, we go to the phone lines now. Joining us here on WEEI Afternoons is the godfather of the NFL Combine, maybe just the godfather of NFL football coverage, John McClain.
Good way to put it.
Dear friend of Ted Johnson, joining Andy Hart, Nick Fitzy-Stevens, and the former Patriots linebacker, John McClain. How you doing this afternoon?
I couldn't be better, guys. How are you?
We're tremendous.
We're good, John. Good to have you, buddy. Thank you for taking time with us.
So we're looking, John.
My pleasure.
We're looking for a little insight, obviously, into what you believe Mike Vrabel is, what he was in Tennessee, and maybe what he can be moving forward. Obviously, a lot of people, including Bill Belichick, are better head coaches the second opportunity that they get. So what kind of coach do you think the New England Patriots are getting in 2025?
Let me tell you a story. In 2001, after the Oilers had moved to Nashville, I covered the NFL. Greatest job in the world. Anywhere I wanted to go, spend any amount of money, write whatever. And I love New England. So my wife and I would come up there a lot because they were winning and they were such a great story. And I went in the locker room one day and I went over and introduced myself to one of the inside linebackers, told him I knew he had spent a lot of time in Houston before he moved, and that was Ted. And we hit it off. And so Ted would talk when I'd be in there, and he'd say, that's Mike Vrabel. He's going to be a head coach someday. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. I didn't want to insult Ted. And I asked him, I said, well, how do you figure? He said, well, he talks to Belichick. He stays late. He wants to be a coach, and he's got everything it takes to be a head coach. And so one time when he was a defensive coordinator here under Bill O'Brien, and I was at a local cafe, and Mike was in there. His parents were in town. So he's with Jen, the boys, and his parents, and they're waiting in line. He introduced me to his parents, and I told his dad, I said, Mike's going to be a head coach in 3 or 4 years. And Mike goes, 2. And then he got the head coaching job in 2018 with the Titans. And one of the things I've always noticed about Mike, besides being really smart, being attention to detail, if you watched him at practice, you know how players do dumb games for competition. They're always inventing things on the field, in the locker room. I'm sure Ted participated in a lot. Mike always got involved in it as a coach with the players. I remember him going down there, getting involved with the players, and J.J. Watt doing things in the end zone before. And he was one of the guys, but he was a really tough guy. And I asked Bill O'Brien, and I know you guys know Bill really well. Yep. I asked him one time, if you were starting a staff, this might have been in 2015, Bill's second year here, and you could take any coach off your staff, and you could take one, who would it be? And he said, Vrabel. I said, well, how do you figure? You got Romeo Crennel on here, and you got this guy and that guy. He said, I'm telling you, Vrabel's going to be a head coach in this league unless he wants to go to Ohio State. And he started talking about all the things that Mike did, and it started with knowledge about how that Mike just understood the game. He understood people. He understood the players. Now, when he was hired by the Titans, Texans had a terrible year in 2017. They lost Deshaun Watson halfway through. He had played great as a rookie quarterback. But Mike went up there, and he did a tremendous job. And right now, all the people that were blasting him when he had 2 losing seasons in a row after being coach of the year, they're like, maybe they should have kept Vrabel. And the one thing that you guys know, he's going to want to run the ball. Derrick Henry was a second-round draft choice, so you don't have to do that. But he will want to run the ball, and he'll play a lot of play action. So when I think about that first pick, and I think, okay, first thing he's going to want is pass rusher, and so he's going to want that, and he's got to have a receiver, and because you got to maximize it around Drake May, of course. But Mike loves those pass rushers, and his guys got to be smart. And I think Taylor Lewan had a thing last week.
Oh, it's great.
That he was talking, and what he talked about the players were going to have to be prepared for. And even though Mike is a hard ass, he is, if you get his sense of humor, he's a great guy. He did some charity events. I've been doing radio in Nashville since the team moved, and I hosted some charity events up there, and I asked Mike if he would do them with me, and he never turned me down. And John Robinson, too. So I'm so happy for him because it's his dream job, of course, and I know everybody up there is so fired up about it, as they should be. You got a winner.
Fans are going to love hearing that, John. And there's so many questions we have. I'm going to skip to someone. I wanted to ask you about Terrell Williams, but I think it's almost more important. I'm curious about the Ryan Cowden, who was in the front office with the Tennessee Titans there from looks like 2016 up until 2022. He's been brought onto the staff to be almost like Elliot Wolf, like the version of Elliot Wolf for Mike Vrabel. Just what do you know about him? How he, kind of how he's been in the front office there with the Tennessee Titans. How do you think that relationship will mesh with Vrabel now that he's with the Patriots coming over from the Giants?
Ryan Cowden was a behind-the-scenes guy. He was strictly a personnel guy, and he and Mike hit it off. And Rand Carthon, I don't think, was ready to be a general manager, and a lot of people said that, but they wanted him because he came from the 49ers, and I think Mike at that time wanted Cowden to get that job. So it's nice of the Giants let him out of his contract because he and Vrabel respects the hell out of him, and vice versa. And the people that I talked to in Nashville about him, they didn't know a lot about him other than people spoke very highly of his personnel skills. Now, he didn't make decisions. He made recommendations, and whether they followed them or not, I have no idea.
Okay.
So, John, and we're speaking with John McClain, who writes for the HoustonTexans.com, storied NFL coverage and career here on WEEI Afternoons. For those of us, John, obviously we know a lot about Mike Vrabel, and you shared a great story. And we know so much about Josh McDaniels. But like Ted mentioned, we don't know squat about, you could fill the oceans with what we don't know about Terrell Williams, the new defensive coordinator for the Patriots, and some of these other guys who Mike worked with in Tennessee, Stryker and the new running backs coach, so and many others. So could you share a little intel as to what kind of guys, most specifically defensive coordinator Terrell Williams, the Patriots are getting?
Well, I'm surprised he didn't go after Shane Bowen, one of his good friends that he started out with here and took with him to Nashville. But when Ted called me about being on with you guys, I made some calls yesterday to find out what I could from the Titans about Terrell Williams. And they said, tough guy, very good teacher. Players respected him and liked him. And he was bullish on the run. If you couldn't stop the run, you weren't going to play. And that was one of their hallmarks, that they were able to stop the run. Titans played really good defense. Their problem most of the time was their offense, especially when they got rid of Derrick Henry last year, which was one of the biggest dumbass things I've ever seen. And so now, can he be the defensive coordinator, making the calls? How many defensive linemen who became line coaches have turned out to be outstanding coordinators? As you guys know, it's mostly defensive backs, specifically safeties and linebackers, but he was well respected by the defensive linemen. And when Mike went to Tennessee, and he called the defense here one year, it was 2017, and that's when they were terrible, but obviously John Robinson didn't hold it against him. And when Mike went up there, they hired Dean Pease. Dean Pease had a lot of experience, used to be with the Patriots, and Mike let Pease call the plays for 2 years. And then even though I think Shane Bowen was still linebackers coach when he called them, but Mike Vrabel was always there. Mike, I don't know, and they didn't know specifically when Mike got involved on game day with making those calls, but they said he knew every possible thing they were going to do. People, and Ted, you played with him, you know it. And Mike I'm not saying he wasn't smart then, but he's such a smart guy. He works his ass off. And I know he's so happy to be able to come back up there. This is my 49th year covering the NFL, and I haven't seen many situations where the head coach was such a natural fit with an organization as Mike Vrabel is with the Patriots.
His approval rating is off the charts. The only thing I can compare it to, and I wasn't living here at the time, John, was maybe the effect that Bill Parcells had when he was brought in to be the coach of the Patriots back in '93. It feels like Vrabes has kind of got the same approval rating.
John, before we let you go, we got to ask you a question that I think
we have two quick ones.
Okay, we got two, but one that's really important. Yeah. We talked to Adam Schefter months ago about this topic, and I know you are a Hall of Fame voter. And around here, people want to know a simple question. Why is Robert Kraft not getting inducted into the Hall of Fame yet?
I'm on the Contributors Committee, and that's the category that he's in. I moved to the Contributors Committee from the Seniors Committee that I'd been on for 15 years. This is my 33rd year on the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. And nobody ever says, I don't think this guy should be in there because. It's always positive things about people. And Sal Paolantonio made a great presentation for Robert Kraft. I wasn't there last year. I think it was Bill Polian. And I know, and I've always thought Kraft should be in the Hall of Fame. And I can tell you, I voted for him, but I have no clue why he's not. But I truly believe he will be, hopefully sooner rather than later.
And, good answer there, John. All right, the last one is I want the Red Sox to go get the former Astros third baseman Alex Bregman, right? I mean, he reminds me of the way he the way he plays third base, a lot like kind of the old one of my old favorites there at third base, Ken Caminiti, okay? And he's a right bat that the Red Sox need very bad. What do you think about him coming here? What would you think about the Red Sox picking Alex Bregman up?
Supposedly there's three teams that want him, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Tigers. Tigers, A.J. Hinch was here. Alex Cora was here. If you get Alex Bregman, you get one of the finest people anybody's ever known, a team leader. All these players spoke out and met with Jim Crane, the owner. You have to keep him. And they offered him, I think, $156 million. Jim Crane will not pay $200 million, $300 million to anybody. And that philosophy has served him very well. But when the Astros start the season without Bregman, it's like they're going to be starting the season without one of their arms because that's what he's meant to the franchise. And one of the things is he starts slow every year. And I don't know what it'd be like. And that's when he's playing indoors. Comes up there, if he plays in Fenway or if he plays in Detroit, and he gets off to his traditional bad start, will everybody blast him? Will the fans boo him?
Yeah,
because
probably.
you have to expect that. And especially it would be a lot of money. But he always turns it around. And Alex Cora knows this. He wants Alex Bregman in his clubhouse. He wants him at spring training. But Scott Boras, he wants every penny he can wring out. Jose Altuve told Scott Boras, I want to play for the Astros. Get me the best possible deal and tell me when it is. And he did, and Altuve signed it. We're really disappointed that Correa didn't do it here or Bregman didn't do it here. And but everybody wishes him the best. And when the Red Sox come here, he'll get probably a 15-minute standing ovation.
Awesome stuff, John.
John, thanks for joining
you,
us today. Appreciate the insight on Vrabel's beginnings, humble beginnings, and where he is now, and also the information on Robert Kraft's Hall of Fame candidacy. I find that fascinating that no one really argues against him, and yet he just can't quite get over the hump and get into Canton. So appreciate you joining us.
By the way, when y'all want some inside information on Ted Johnson, let me know. It'll take more than one segment.
Okay, I'll hit you up. We'll definitely be calling you back for that.
Sponsor and make that a weekly segment.
Thanks, John.
I'm going to see you soon, John. I'll see you soon.
That was great stuff, Andy. I know we're up against the break. Just wanted to say we're going to take a quick sports break, a nice little palate cleanser and a refresher. We'll pay the bills, and when we come back, today was the day that the Oscar nominations were released. So I'm going to put you guys, before the Stiz quiz at 5:30, I'm going to put you guys on the spot, see if you guys know what this year's Oscar nominations for Best Picture are. This will be a fun little break before the 5 o'clock sports hour. This is Hart, Fitzy, and Johnson here on WEI Afternoons.